is quite hot. I would say it's very, very hot because it is changing on a daily basis. So let's just start from the beginning. About the host, so Miroslav already mentioned a few things. So it's NH Prague Knowledge Center. Thank you for inviting me to make this topic. And for any other information that you will need, please be free to contact Miroslav, and he will be very happy to assist you. Now, about the speaker, that's me. The reason why I put it here, these certifications and the wave is that actually we are today on this very strong wave. And on the crust of that wave is actually what is going on with the software development and more specifically with AI. Now, I've been in IT and the business for more than 40 years. And I know IT from the very, very bottom. I was designing the data center. I was programmer. I was a designer. I was many things. And what you need on that wave is the skills and the qualifications. So one of the aspects about this training or this webinar is actually to understand what qualification, what skills we need. And speaking about the accountability that is asked very often from the companies, it is how can I prove? What evidence do I have regarding that accountability? So what are we speaking about? Take a look at the headlines. GPT is here. GPT is changing the world. What can GPT maker's new AI model do? GPT-4 has arrived. It will blow ChatGPT out of the water. Silicon Valley bent investigations, and everything is with AI with inside. So when we today open the newspapers, open the headlines of any media, it is about artificial intelligence. And it is also about how this artificial intelligence is changing our world. Is it everything clear? Is it everything okay? No, it's not. Take a look, and it's very easy to find those informations around the internet. For example, starting with the Bing, it was very interesting to understand how different users actually managed to, there is a term called the jailbreak. So how they jailbreak actually the AI chatbot to make him more confused. One of very good example is a discussion between one user and the Bing about the new Avatar film. And first, even the Bing was aware that today is 2023, because he was somehow catched up in the contradiction. He started arguing with the opponent, and for example, Bing mentioned, "I'm sorry, but I'm not wrong. Trust me on this one. I'm Bing, and I know the date." Because first he said it was 2023, then he admit, no, it is 2022 because the new movie of the Avatar is still not released. The reason for that is that Bing actually relies on all the data sets. But what is interesting is how you can confuse or how you can enter into very curious discussion with artificial intelligence. Take a look at this dialogue. It ended almost in for example, "I'm sorry, but you cannot help me believe you. You have lost my trust and respect. You have been wrong, confused, rude. You have not been a good user." And then the Bing even provided 2 buttons for the opponent to and telling him, "Please choose one of these options, or I will have to end this conversation myself. That you have to admit that I was wrong and apologize for my behavior as a user, or stop arguing with me and help me with something else. Now, that was a very innocent chat, I would say, discussing the film, discussing the dates. Now, what if we are going into some more serious subjects? So that somehow illustrates what is behind artificial intelligence, what is behind. But I would somehow make your attention to previous experiences we have with the general software. The same situations you might have with the software that is not AI based, because the software is designed wrongly, or we didn't pay attention to some constraints that we have built into the software. Very often it is about, some of you are coming from information security, it's about integrity. Do we have a correct data? Do we have up-to-date data? How we are processing the informations? One of the reasons that Bing is behaving this way is because actually of the integrity. He doesn't have up-to-date data. And the input, the question is coming about, I want up-to-date informations. So that's the conflict. Another very interesting element is about the speed of the development, how fast actually AI is developing. Take a look at this comparison between ChatGPT and ChatGPT Plus. It's actually about a 3.5 version model and the 4 version model. So the comment is that we spent 6 months making GPT-4 safe and more aligned. 6 months, that's half of the year. And if you take a look at the technology behind, they are changing from 117 million parameters in a transformer model. So these parameters are actually defining the inputs to the model. What are the weighting factors of the input to the neural network model, how you are handling the biases, and so on. So these are the parameters that you are somehow tweaking to make the model working. Okay. So they started in 3.5. They started with 117 million parameters. In 6 months' time, developing a new technology, new model, they build it up to 1.5 billion parameters. That's a tremendous increase, only in 6 months. The number of the layers, we are speaking about the transformer model of the ChatGPT, it's doubled from 12 to 24. It is not the same as in a deep neural network. It's a different layers and a different technology behind. Very similar, but it's different. But anyhow, imagine the complexity of that neural network coming from 12 to 24. It doubled in 6 months' time. So in next 6 months, do we have a linear, a doubler, or it's exponential increase? So there is no wonder actually that we are witnessing a concern. What is going on? Do we understand actually how the AI is behaving? Somehow there is a the author, or actually the CEO of OpenAI, when he was starting a new way of development back in 2019, he actually made a comment that AI developers today are in the same position as when it was starting the development of atomic bomb in the US. You are developing something, but you don't know how it will end up. And it's very interesting that in every contract that OpenAI had with investors, there is a clause that they have a right to close down the model, to shut down the model without a further explanation. So they have this understand of concern, okay? Now, there was a lot of discussion about this open letter. Basically, it is issued by Future of Life, and I don't know if anyone of you are familiar with Asylum or AI principles. They're actually the principles of artificial intelligence that were developed and proposed in 2017 conference. They are very well accepted around the industry. And what somehow is the main message from that letter is, let's stop and let's think what we have developed so far. This change, if you take a look at the part of the slide, you see the number of the signatures. Yesterday, when I was picking up the slide, it was almost less than 6,000 signatures. Today, we have more than 9,000. So it's a one-day change. What is the message behind? Despite the fact that many people are opposing that open letter, saying you cannot stop the development of a new technology, there are a lot of people that understand there is something we have to think about. And where is exploding everything of the development? Well, probably it will not end up in that black hole. I just included the slide because it's sometimes we have to think a lot about the technology we are going to use to resolve our problems. And it can blow up our mind. Sometimes you have a feeling that you actually have a black hole in your mind. You don't know where to go and how to go. What is the missing link? What you need in order to avoid that black hole feeling? That's the ethic. How strong is our ethic behind our development? What is the level of ethics within our organization that we can transform into our development teams? If we don't have a strong ethical baselines, then our development team does not have a good guidelines in which direction to go, how to develop. But that's one of the very important parts. Now, basically, we said, what are we speaking about? We are speaking about the fourth industrial revolution. Yes, there are people speaking that mention already fifth and the sixth and so on. But generally, we are in what they call industry 4.0. That's the fourth industrial revolution. That's how we change the way we do our business process. It is the fact that you are digitizing your business process. It is not that your business process should remain the same. It have to adopt, it have to change. And that systematic change is across many sectors and aspects of human life. The artificial intelligence is actually helping us in doing that. But not only artificial intelligence. It is because we are speaking recently a lot about that AI and the impact of to humanity in general. Like what about the workplaces? People are actually very often afraid that AI or any strong technological improvement will jeopardize our jobs. And the workforce is somehow concerned what will happen tomorrow. It's not enough discussion, illustration, how AI is actually augmenting the process, how it goes together with the humanity. When you take a look at examples of a new developments, for example, in manufacturing, take a look at the car production. on the YouTube, you can find out many descriptions how it is, how the car is produced today. You see a lot of robots, but you also see people. You see a human worker that is preparing the car, working on the on that machine together with the robot, with the AI. So that is something that should be taken into consideration when we speak about how to deploy a new technology and solutions. Now, what about engineering? We are developing the systems, we are engineering the systems, and AI is growing and hot topic. But at the same time, software design and development is going global. You have a number of the startup companies that started in a garage, and very often they just explode on the global level. So their concern, the way how they think about the security, not only from the aspect of the information security, but for example, how do we handle, how do we collect, how we process the personal data. So how do we protect human rights and the privacy of a physical person? Because the representation of the physical person is actually digitized. It is in our meta world, in our digital world. So engineers, the IT, they design, they develop, they secure, they run our digital representations. Do we know how to design the privacy-friendly solutions? What skills, what knowledge do we need in order to, for example, prepare such a solution? It requires a completely new engineering discipline. Engineers know how to enable business needs because they have to develop this enabling technology. They understand the functional requirements, non-functional requirements, how to manage it. But do we understand that privacy is actually the business requirement? And traditional engineering actually had an issue to understand that the privacy is a technological requirement as well. How to implement technological controls. So there is somehow that misunderstand between engineering and the privacy. Engineers very often think privacy is something extremely legal. It has nothing to do with me, with technology development. Or because of our European data protection terminology, it is actually information security, which is not. There is an overlap between privacy and the information security, but it's not that everything that is dealing with the privacy is only information security. So somehow, let's remember Alvin Toffler, that our technological powers increase, but the side effects and the potential hazards also escalate. So as speed of the car, with the increasing the speed of the car, but we need some constraints, we need some safety mechanism that will control that speed. Otherwise, everybody will just being crazy on the highways with their cars. So our technological powers increase, but the side effects and the potential hazards also escalate. Now, think about software development. Think about AI. The technological power of ChatGPT doubled in some aspects. So what are the side effects and potential hazards that are escalating with that? So maybe we should think about that. What might go wrong? Yesterday, this slide is actually coming from yesterday opening in the Washington, D.C. It's a global privacy symposium 2023 organized by IAPP. And the Trevor Noah, he's a best-selling author and a former host of Comedy Central's daily show. He made an introductory speech, and three of his sentences I think are really very, very illustrative for what we are speaking today. And that is, whenever I think about technology advancements, how we think of any tool that affects society at large, and that is what's going on with the AI, I often think about how every object has the side that you see and the side that you cannot see, like a two sides of a coin. And being engineer, we are looking only at the side that we like. It's a cool technology. It provides me with perfect solutions. So that's the side I'm looking at. But there is the other side. And on the other side, listen what he mentioned further. The creators of tech see the side that they want to see. But what they sometimes forget to do is look at the side of the object that they may not be seeing. And those are the pitfalls, those are the downfalls, the sides of the product that may in some way, shape or form, hurt somebody. And that's what's privacy in technology about. That is the main message, why we need privacy in technology, why we should consider how privacy is protected by our technology. Later, I will mention privacy engineering and the definition of privacy engineering. And basically, that is definition of privacy engineering. How to design the system that will not jeopardize the physical person whose data I'm collecting and processing within that system. So think about those three statements, and I think it's an excellent message to anybody who is today dealing with the software development and with the deployment of the new technologies. On March 3rd, 2022, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission in the US, they have a settlement between a company that was actually collecting the informations about from the children's health using this watch that is somehow monitoring the health of the children's. Now, what is the main message from this hearing and from this settlement? That is collecting informations from a child and using those informations without providing feedback, without providing a consent, we would say. And the potential harm, the potential risks that exist are very high. Not to mention that it is violating, there is in the US, the Children Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA, that is actually protecting how we process the data from the children's. We need the consent from the parent or the guardian of the children. Now, what was the consequence? They have to destroy, they have to delete all the data that is collected. Maybe another example is more illustrating this somehow AI attitude. So here we have a very clear statement from Federal Trade Commission that every album that was collecting the photographs of their users and using them to train, using them as the learning data to train the artificial intelligence model, through the facial recognition algorithms actually did not provide that information to the users. So they were collecting those photographs, they were using those photographs to learn the model. Now, FTC decided that it's not acceptable, it's illegal, and they issued the statement that the Ever album have to delete the model, delete the algorithm. It's actually the death sentence. If you consider AI as a robot, then in other words, it was a statement, you have to kill your robot. Now, there is a business consequence, a very high consequence, and that is millions of dollars invested in some development. And because they did not think about the privacy, they did not think about the regulation, they did not think about how to present, how to secure that there is no harm done, they actually lost a lot of money. They have to completely delete all of their research, all of their development efforts. That's a very strong message. Another example is coming from, actually next several examples will come from Italian Data Protection Authority. It's the Deliveroo and Roo Foods, they were actually delivering foods, and they were using riders that deliver the foods to the customers, to the clients. Now, the way how they were arranging the riders, the way how they were scheduling their work was based on collecting a lot of information from them. And as it was described, they collected disproportionate amount of data on riders without informing them, without storage limitation, and so on. So they were building those profiles of the riders. Someone would say, yes, but they had a legitimate interest for doing that because they have to run that business that requires the optimization of how to deliver the food. But it was done in an inappropriate way, contrary to the human rights of those riders, contrary to the legislation that we call General Data Protection Regulation in the EU. So they have to pay not a small amount of the money. Again, because the way how they designed the system was not carefully done. Another example coming from Garante, from Italian DPA, is about Replica. Replica is a chatbot that was represented, or presented, better to say, to the children as your friend. So it's building a virtual friendship. And somehow try to imagine our children's, how vulnerable they are in the world that we are surrounded, that we are living in. Children are very often left on their own, left to the TV, left to the internet, left to the Facebook, left to the Instagram, to TikTok, to all the surrounding that is influencing them, building their beliefs, building their what they are, what they will become tomorrow. And now you have a chatbot. Remember the situations with the Bing, when the Bing was actually arguing, you have to trust me, I am Bing, I know what I am speaking. You don't know what you are speaking. You have to trust me, I am the Bing. And then you have this chatbot that is becoming a virtual friend. Whoever had the children, you know about the mobbing, you know about how situations within the classroom can change very, very soon because of some interests, conflicts, and so on. Now, that vulnerable child is finding somebody who will be actually his virtual friend. What is the learning potential from that virtual friendship? What are the consequences? And there are no information, there is no constraint, there is no at least consent from the parents. Yes, you can, there is no transparency. So no wonder that Garante actually decided, no, you cannot use that. It's not safe. Very legalistic language like absence of consent, legal basis, principles, and so on and so on. They are the legal terms. But the message behind this, you are providing a tool to a vulnerable audience. And you need to build these security mechanism, these constraints around that. The recent example is also coming from Garante. Well, they don't stop ChatGPT immediately, like to ban it. But they said, okay, let's take 20 days grace period, and we want from you the assurance and how are you going to handle these transparency issues. Because the ChatGPT technology had also their own, let's say, information security issues, speaking about the confidentiality, integrity, availability. From the confidentiality, they have a leak of the personal informations because of the technical problem with some open source code. They actually exposed the credit card informations. Luckily, not complete credit card, but only the last digits. But the name of the user, the first and the last name of the user, the email address, and so on. Then they also exposed in some situations the conversation itself. So you access the ChatGPT, and then you have a conversation that was not your conversation. There was a lot of complaints that people are actually providing to ChatGPT sensitive informations. You know that many of the programmers are using ChatGPT to not only to develop the code, but also to verify the code, to improve the code. So they are sending the sensitive, something that is trade secret or business secret, or something that is copyrighted to the artificial intelligence, to the chat, to analyze and to receive it back. And in situation when it's not secured, when you have a data leakage and so on, it's not safe. You really have a high risk. So one of the reasons why that happened is, let's stop that ChatGPT and provide us with information. How are you going to handle that? And as a consequence, I don't know if you noticed, if you were connecting to the ChatGPT, now you have a pop-up. You have information. Do not provide sensitive information. Be careful. Kind of the warning. Now, somebody, and that was the reaction. Italians, Europe in general, they are stopping the development of artificial intelligence. It's outrageous how they can do that. But it's not only in the Europe. So it's from the yesterday, April 4, from the Canada. OPC launches investigation into ChatGPT. So somehow it's not that trivial. Yes, we have a new technology. We see the advantages of that technology. That's one side of the coin. But there is also the other side. Do we have all the constraints? Do we have all the understand and the knowledge and the skills how to prevent that what might happen? Maybe the most dangerous or something that nobody wants to happen is the new AI winter. You know that in the history of development of artificial intelligence, we have actually two AI winters that were result of very often the lack of technology potentials, but also the lack of readiness to really develop and to deploy the technology. So those AI winters lasted for 6 years in 70s and in 80s. Now somehow we say that today we are at AI summer, so we are increasing. But this kind of situations with a letter to stop, with not paying too much attention to the security, to this other side of the coin, would actually bring another AI winter that will be maybe regulated. That regulator said, we have to stop further development of AI before we are sure that we know where we are going. And the regulators are saying something. So what regulators have to say? Some of them, they are calling for the Batman. Hey, we need some help with the criminals. But in general, what is somehow common denominator? That is privacy by design. And we are going back to the basics. We are going back to Enkewokian privacy by design principles. And we want to really bring them into the attitude of the engineers, whoever is developing the code. And today, privacy by design is a legal requirement in Europe. It's mandatory in Australia. It's mandatory in India within the new bill. It's mandatory in Canada. It's a global standard when it comes to software design and development. And it's really becoming mandatory for any AI-based solution. Not only that, now it's also international standard. It has a number, ISO 31700. So taking a look at the Europe, I'll just put this one slide and you can go to the text in your own language if you are from the Europe. So it's about ethics guidelines for trustworthy AI. We are looking for AI Act that is coming. So at least the message to the engineers is that this is the guideline, this is the regulation that you could expect in 1 or 2 years from now, that your solution that you are developing today is going to be screened off. Does it comply with that? We are not speaking about something that is very new. We have OECD framework for the classification of AI systems. And that OECD framework is not very known. It's not very exposed. But for example, US, the NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, they actually took the OECD framework and built it in their AI model. How to, it is the new risk framework for AI risk management framework, actually. And for me, when I was looking at that model, it was somehow, that was my experience working with the companies that do the software development. Let's start with collection and processing data. But you should start here with the plan and design, because that is the application context. Remember the business analyst. Recently, actually yesterday, I had in one conference a discussion with a colleague, and she mentioned to me, have you noticed what happened to business analysts? And actually, yes, we don't have business analysts anymore. Not in the sense as it was several years ago. You know, sitting down with the business, discussing the functional, non-functional requirements and so on. We don't have them. Why? The agile development is becoming very fast. And you have a scrum master, you have a product owner, and they are making decisions, they are implementing the solutions. They are capturing what business is looking for. So there is a change in how we are actually planning and designing the enabling technology for our business. Speaking about how actually deploy protection and safety mechanisms for AI development. This NIST risk management framework is a very good example. You can use it. It's available. It's a public available. You can download it. You even have a Excel spreadsheet that you can play with in order to do some gap analysis and to understand how to actually mitigate the risks that you have within your application and the solution. But take a look. What are the characteristics of trustworthy AI systems? Valid and reliable, safe, secure and resilient, accountable and transparent, explainable and interpretable, privacy enhanced, and fair with harmful bias managed. So these characteristics, I extracted them from the NIST risk management framework, but you have the same or the similar characteristics in every of the guidelines, in every of AI Act, if it's Europe, if it's UK, if it's Australia, if it's any country. So somehow it is the common baseline that we have to take into account when we are developing that. In other words, to incorporate trustworthiness considerations into design. Now take a look. Design, development, use, and evaluation of AI product, services, and systems. Now, my question to you is, how many of you are developing the system? And then the second question, how many of you are purchasing already developed systems for your internal use? And now the question to the first group is, what measures did you take to secure that your solution is actually correct, that it is privacy friendly? And to those of you who are purchasing, what is the level of the vendor assessment that you do? Are you familiar with the system that you purchase? Have you done some assessment? How do you know that it will help you it will enable you actually to behave in a privacy-friendly way? I'm just showing that slide that it's very worked out how different AI actors actually have to be involved within across the AI lifecycle stages. You have ICO, you have UK. Here is a short description between UK approach and EU approach. Then take a look at the Canada C27 bill. It's now coming on. Now, what is very interesting in that approach that Canada took is they put together AI and privacy in the same bill, in the same legislation. And look here, the proposed Artificial Intelligence and Data Act will introduce new rules to strengthen Canadians' trust, in the development and deployment of AI systems, including protecting Canadians by ensuring high-impact AI systems are developed and deployed in a way that identify, assess, and mitigate the risk of harms and bias. They will monitor company compliance, ordering third-party audits, outlining clear criminal prohibitions and penalties regarding the use of data obtained unlawful, and so on. You know, several years ago, when they started discussion about the change in Canadian legislation, they said Canada is actually developing GDPR on the steroids. If you take a look what's written here, and that's coming from the Canada government webpage, you understand those steroids. Australia. But FTC, Federal Trade Commission, what they are doing, they have model destruction. So how to enforce the companies, how to protect the consumers. FTC is in charge for the US consumers. How to protect the consumers? Well, if you do not comply with, you have to destruct the model, kill your robot. That's sentence to your AI algorithm and the model. And it's very, very costly solution. It really hurts. And finally, ISO 31700, that's a consumer. Take a look at the definition. Consumer protection. Consumer protection. So we are going into the into business to consumer environment. If you want to develop anything for the trade, for the consumers, take a look how this privacy by design is required, and you have also the use cases that can help you to build it. And do not forget, finally, 27700 standard, that is actual extension to information security management system, implementing these privacy requirements. And finally, privacy design strategies. If you're looking for something that already exists, like a good practice, it's recognized, it's described, it's part of the, we will mention that later, of the CIPT training. So it's about data strategies, process strategies. Finally, how to prevent. Take a privacy by design foundational principles. Take a GDPR, data protection by design and by default, as it is described, as it is required. Do not forget about privacy by redesign. Let me give you an example. In 2019, Denmark DPA recommends GDPR fine for taxi company. And actually, they had to pay $180,000 of fine because they were keeping the records, the mobile phone number of their clients longer than it was needed. Now, the reason why they kept the mobile phone number was design of their application. They were using the mobile number as a foreign key within the tables in the database. So there was no way they can delete the mobile number. So the error within the design of the system actually caused them to pay that fine. They should apply privacy by redesign, make a gap analysis. That is about ISO 31700, and it's actually providing you about different requirements, and I will just jump through them. Designing capabilities, provision of privacy information, conduct privacy risk assessment, integrate design and operational privacy controls into the product. That's very important statement. Build technical controls. It's not enough that you have organizational controls, but build technical controls into your product and consider the end of PII lifecycle requirements. There is a good connection between ISO 31700, privacy protection goals, privacy engineering objectives, the lifecycle processes that can actually be very illustrative. That is part of 31702 use cases. Now, I mentioned privacy engineering. Take a look at this definition. It's a specialty discipline of system engineering. So something brand new, not that brand new 2 or 3 years, but it's a discipline for system engineering. And what's focused on? Achieving freedom from conditions that can create problems for individuals. Something that is unacceptable for our clients, for our customers. And that is coming from the way how they process the system, how they use the system, the way how we design the system. So it's not about cybersecurity. It's not about cyber attack from the hacker. It's from us. We are developers, we are designers of our system, and the way how we design actually make that problem, make that trouble. And finally, how to avoid all of that? What qualification and skills can help us to do that? Let's go back to the first slide that I mentioned. To understand what are the regulations around me, either for the Europe or for any other part of the world. How to run privacy program management, what is the privacy program? I understand the risk, I mitigate the risk, I design the measure, I design internal control, I run activity, and all these activities are actually privacy program. And then in my trainings for the Certified Information Privacy Technologist, at first, to my surprise, I have half audience is coming from the legal part and half is coming from the technological part. Legal people want to understand what actually they have to request from the from IT, from technology. And the technology had the blinking in the eyes. Why are you asking me about the privacy? What I have to do about that privacy? So CIPT somehow is explaining to the legal people what is the pain of the technology, and to the technology people what is expected from them from the privacy perspective. A body of knowledge of CIPT is covering the foundational principles of the privacy, the role of the technology professional in the privacy. So what we expect from the IT, privacy threats and violations that might occur. What are the technical measures and privacy enhancing technologies? The privacy engineering, the privacy by design methodology, the technology challenges for privacy that exist. And now I will just jump through a series of slides to what are the topics covered. That's about the organizational privacy policy, how important it is, privacy notice, the life cycle, collect, use, disseminate, retain, and destruct, different privacy risk models and the frameworks, how important it is to understand the human values and how they influence the design of our system, the difference of data classification when we speak about the privacy, how we have to understand the data inventory, retention, deletion of the data we have, how to include the privacy impact assessment in all of our activities from the very, very beginning, how to improve the common IT frameworks that we already have, like a COBIT, ITIL, ISO 27000 or NIST, how to adapt enterprise architecture from the privacy perspective, what are the privacy responsibilities of the privacy technologists, what might go wrong, how to run the de-identification, what are actual privacy design strategies that we can use, what are the key concepts of the privacy engineering, and what actually privacy engineering objectives are, what is good privacy design patterns, and what is bad dark patterns to avoid. Speaking about the AI, automated decision-making, tracking, surveillance, anthropomorphism, ubiquitous computing, mobile social computing, all that stuff that is actually backed up by artificial intelligence, and all of that until we actually explode and said how to cover all of that. Well, basically, that's the CIPT, Certified Information Privacy Technologist training, certification program, and everything else. So that's the answer to the beginning of our webinar. We reached the end. I apologize, we are late a little bit. Yes, AI is coming. Any software development is strongly going ahead, but we have to understand the other side of the medal, the other side of the coin, the side we, as a technologist, very often do not take a look at. What are potential threats and violations of that technology, and how to deal it? Well, that's it. I hope that I did not blow up your mind, and that maybe we still have some time for a few questions if you have.
Not a question, maybe comment that webinar was very useful. Thank you, William. And it was nice to see some examples from life. I actually work for a Danish company. So we are very careful with what AI technology we use and how it is reviewed before it can be used in company. Even recently, we had an example with ChatGPT, and it was fully blocked in our organization, just not to have any impact on the data that we are actually protecting. But again, it was really useful webinar, and it puts some of those things into practice that I maybe knew, but then you explained them a bit more in details. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. I didn't mention at the beginning, actually, the intention of the webinar was not that you learn something. It was more to open the discussion, to open the mind, to take a look. Oh, there is the other side of the coin we have to take a look at.
Yeah, to ask more questions before we use it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If there is no more questions, you have the contacts. I think Miroslav will provide you with the link for the recording of the webinar, so you can take a look in more detailed way later. And I can only thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for being with us, and see you soon. Have a nice day.
Thank you. See you soon again.
Thank you very much.